the clock is ticking, and soon students will return to class.
Oh no, it's a panic. It's definitely a panic.
Depending on which kid you ask, it's either the best time of year or the worst. Regardless, it's time for parents to check off their shopping lists. A push to preserve history in Manotick.
Without these buildings in our community, we would be losing a vast amount of heritage, not only for Manotick, but Ottawa as well.
Watson's Mill facing financial and logistical challenges as the city looks to offload the land iconic buildings call home. And there's a new master of the stairs.
Honestly, that was the craziest thing I've ever done in my life.
Well over 1,000 steps later, meet the new Stairmaster world record holder, pushing himself to his limit to support charity. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. The day that kids either love or hate is right around the corner. Students are heading back to the class in full force this week, and that means for parents and guardians, they need to grab those necessary back-to-school items before the bell rings on Tuesday. CTV's Kimberly Johnson is back in studio after speaking with some of the parents today. And Kimberly, what more can you tell us?
Austin, visiting a few stores across the city today, it was clear that it was definitely a busy day for parents. Tens of thousands of students at English boards are returning to class this week, and parents spent the day working on that checklist to be prepared.
It's a busy day of shopping for Victoria Glocking after suddenly realizing her daughter needs new shoes.
All of a sudden she has shoes the same size as me, so we needed a new pair.
So shopping ahead of the return to class it is, and she says she's happy to let her daughter call the shots.
We get what they like, we've realized, is more important than what we care about, because then they won't wear it. So it's you kind of have to go with it.
On Tuesday, students at English boards will have their first day of school, which had parents racing around trying to find those last-minute items.
This one has spent the most. She got jeans and a sweater.
10-year-old Abby now has her first day outfit. Mom Krista Kilray says that her children are given a budget to buy what they want because it's a good time for one more lesson.
Because it teaches them that if the one kid wants the $50 jeans and one kid gets 4 t-shirts for that price, they can make that decision for themselves. And they actually don't need any new clothes. This is a want and not a necessity.
For many families, inflation is putting the strain on wallets. A new survey out by Rakuten.ca shows nearly 3 in 4 parents that plan to budget admit to going over, and clothes are what parents spend the most on.
Crayons here, so I always look out for the ones on sale, and the brand I have here is on sale.
This mom says it's all about the deals today, but shopping overall this season has come with a cost.
Snow suits, snow pants, snow boots, fall boots as well. And I noticed the prices have gone up considerably higher than what we bought last year. I think 3 to 4% higher.
Everything from clothes to paper and pencils are needed as the clock ticks down.
It's a panic. It's definitely a panic. We just look for deals. That's the main thing, right?
To put it into perspective, another survey from the Retail Council of Canada says school supplies could cost parents between $650 and $750 per student ahead of the big day. Austin?
That's a lot, and a lot to budget for. CTV's Kimberly Johnson reporting live for us tonight. Kimberly, thank you for this. In Manotick, 2 historic landmarks could soon change hands. Earlier this year, the city decided to do away with its ownership of the historic Dickinson House and Carriage Shed. And while the property is expected to be transferred to Watson's Mill Manotick Incorporated, the move leaves the nonprofit with some new responsibilities. CTV's Caitlin Wilson joins us now to break all of this down. Caitlin.
Austin, as part of the city's effort to cut costs, a number of properties were declared surplus earlier this year. Among them, 2 historic buildings in Manotick, and now fundraising efforts are underway to make sure they stay in the community.
Welcome to Dickinson House.
In the heart of Manotick, Dickinson Square is a landmark rooted in Ottawa's history. Watson's Mill, built in 1860, still runs as a working flour mill, while the neighboring Dickinson House and Carriage Shed complete the historic site. But while the history is rich, the future of the museum and heritage site is uncertain.
Without these buildings in our community, we would be losing a vast amount of heritage, not only for Manotick, but Ottawa as well.
Earlier this year, the city declared Dickinson House and the carriage shed as surplus in an effort to cut costs. Watson's Mill owns the mill itself, but it also manages the 2 city-owned properties. And with the transfer of those buildings in the works, the nonprofit faces new challenges.
The carriage shed, it's probably like the unsung hero of our site because it houses our offices as well as our used bookstore. So when we were told the buildings were deemed as surplus, it was really heartbreaking because we didn't know how we would operate.
The group is working with area councillor David Brown to secure the properties and keep them in community hands.
We're closer to the end of that discussion. We're trying to make sure that we transfer these properties at no cost to our community partners so they can focus on operating the facilities and not purchasing the facilities.
A silver lining for many residents who see the buildings as more than just real estate.
The square is everything to the community. The biggest concern is the developer would swoop in and try and buy it up and maybe build condos or commercialize it or something like that.
Clearly we can see that the roof, which is cedar shingles, needs to be repaired.
But even with the transfer, the challenge is far from over. Years of deferred maintenance is expected to cost roughly $900,000 on top of day-to-day expenses.
We've been fortunate to have the daily operations covered by the city, but with this change, it's all going to fall on our shoulders and the responsibility is going to be huge.
Watson's Mill says fundraising in the coming months will be critical as the community works to preserve its history.
I really feel this community can do it. I think that when we all come together, we're going to see great things happen here.
As part of the transfer negotiations between the city and nonprofit organization, the area councillor says they're also trying to ensure Watson's Mill is given funding to help with some of the necessary repairs. The mill says it's in the early stages of launching a number of fundraising campaigns, and some local businesses have already stepped up. The first of 3 town halls is scheduled for next Sunday. Austin?
Yeah, certainly a story we will continue to follow. Caitlin, thank you for this. CTV's Caitlin Wilson reporting live for us tonight. Well, it was a beautiful day outside today. Really nice. We're getting a look here at the Rideau River and people sitting around at Serbian Fest, which is underway this weekend. It's 25 degrees right now. Hard to believe it's the final day of August. Pretty soon we'll be waking up those guys from Green Day. Tonight's low, 11 degrees. Pretty clear conditions as well. Getting down to single digits in Bancroft at 7 degrees, 9 in Pembroke, 8 in Kittigan-Zibi, and 9 degrees in Gatineau, too. So relatively cool for those of you who like to sleep with your window open. It'll be a nice breeze coming in tonight. 26 is the high tomorrow. Mostly sunny conditions here in Ottawa. 25 in Kingston, 26 in Gatineau as well, and in Kemptville, 27 in Maniwaki, and in Montreal. Those will be our warm spots. Well, today is International Overdose Awareness Day. It's a time to remember the lives lost to overdose and a day to reiterate the preventative actions that are at the fingertips of first responders and members of the public. CTV's Natalie Van Roy joins us live in studio with the latest figures from Ottawa Police. Natalie.
Well, Austin, for those who have lost a loved one to overdose, it's a day to fight stigma and remember that there are real lives behind the stats, people with family and friends. And one of the most impactful life-saving measures, as we heard, is naloxone, which is continuing to help to reduce the number of overdoses in our city. Now, here's a look at some of the latest statistics from police. In 2024, Ottawa Police Service responded to 1,482 overdose calls and saved 128 lives by administering naloxone. The total number of overdose calls dropped by about 300 compared to the year prior. Now, meanwhile, from January 1st to August 11th this year, Ottawa Police Service responded to 364 overdoses, an average of less than 2 a day. Now, that's representing a significant drop compared to last year. Police administered naloxone 29 times on the scene, saving 24 lives. Now, if you do see someone who you suspect has overdosed, call 911, administer naloxone if you have it on you, and stay with the person until help arrives. And signs of an opioid overdose include choking, clammy skin, slow or no breathing, blue or gray lips, and difficulty staying awake. Now, it's important to note again that the data provided by police covers calls that officers responded to in Centertown, and there's also a free 24-hour program called Anchor. Now, that started up last year, and people in that community can call 211 if they suspect that someone has overdosed, and a social worker will come to treat the individual. Austin.
Yeah, Natalie, thank you very much for this. CTV's Natalie Van Roy reporting live for us tonight. Well, 32 Liberal MPs have signed a letter calling for action against anti-Semitism here in Canada. Liberal MP Anthony Housefather posting on X saying, quote, Jewish Canadians, like all Canadians, have a fundamental right to feel safe in Canada and to live safely with their Jewish identity proudly known. The letter notes a Jewish woman was stabbed here in Ottawa while grocery shopping on Thursday. The MPs say from attacks on synagogues to Jewish schools and monuments to businesses and individuals, anti-Semitism is becoming normalized. They are now urging all Canadians, all levels of government, all law enforcement agencies, schools, public institutions, and places of work to fight against the spread of hate. Well, the number of sick days taken by federal workers is increasing, according to new data from the Treasury Board of Canada Secretariat. Data shows that the average number of sick days for workers in the public service was 9.2 between 2023 and 24. That's up from the height of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, when there was an average of 5.9. Just ahead of his Labor Day deadline, Prime Minister Mark Carney opened his major projects office this week. The new federal body is expected to streamline the process for massive industrial projects, but what exactly it will help build is still relatively unknown. As CTV's Colton Prail reports, some say it should be much more than pipelines and ports.
It's the cornerstone of Prime Minister Mark Carney's Build Canada pitch, a new major projects office specifically meant to get government and red tape out of the way in the most important moments.
We don't want pie-in-the-sky projects. We want projects that have a high likelihood of success.
The new office is headquartered in Calgary and led by a former energy executive who helped oversee the construction of the Trans Mountain Pipeline.
Having someone who's had to recently actually navigate the system and building the only major infrastructure project this country has seen in a long time, I think they need that experience.
The Prime Minister says projects will be graded by how they strengthen Canada's autonomy, provide economic benefit, are likely to succeed, and whether they advance Indigenous interests and climate goals. But experts say they also need to rethink what Canada does with its resources.
Not just dig it out of the ground, ship it out for another country to process. Let's build, the full supply chain here.
Among the potential projects being pitched are new pipelines and deep sea ports, mines and transportation infrastructure, and expanded energy grids.
Building transportation links and electricity links to the north in a way is a modern equivalent of the Canadian Pacific Railroad that linked Canada east to west when we were a young country.
But as Ottawa begins the process of choosing which projects to streamline, some say it would be easier for government to remove the regulatory burdens already in place, like the emissions cap and clean energy regulations.
Opening this office is maybe a necessary but not sufficient condition to getting foreign investors' private capital interest in Canada.
Carney has previously said he expects to announce which projects the new office will focus on in the next 2 weeks. Colton Prail, CTV News, Ottawa.
A U.S. federal court has ruled that most of President Donald Trump's tariffs are illegal, but that doesn't mean they're off the books. The administration does still have time to appeal, creating more uncertainty for businesses on both sides of the border. CTV's Jeremy Sharon reports.
It's a legal blow to the Trump administration's trade tactics, a court decision declaring some of the president's infamous tariffs illegal. But already it's expected to be appealed and pushed to America's highest court.
It is our hope that the Supreme Court will take up this case very quickly, early in its term, in October and November, and we would get a decision by the end of the year.
But in the meantime, the court ruling still isn't without impact.
Uncertainty. People don't know how to do business. This just simply exacerbates that uncertainty.
The split decision by a U.S. appeals court ruled that some of the tariffs imposed by the president are illegal, including the so-called fentanyl tariffs on Canada. And while their lawfulness will be decided in court, other levies still stand.
There are national security tariffs, the steel, aluminum, auto parts tariffs. Those are all under Section 232, which is a different process and is not at issue, has not been struck down.
Even the tariffs being challenged remain in place until at least October 14th, giving Trump's administration a chance to officially appeal. While in a world where the global trade landscape has been reshaped by the U.S. president's use of tariffs,
it's got to be steady as we go in Canada.
Experts suggest this latest ruling changes nothing yet for Canada.
The discussion between Canada and the United States isn't about legal powers. It's not about constitutionality. It's about politics and economics.
Donald Trump has called the court ruling highly partisan, and his administration says it will appeal it, as once again uncertainty remains the only constant. Jeremy Sherrill, CTV News, Ottawa.
The stairs have a new master. It wasn't your typical weekend workout for one Ottawa man, but he spent 24 hours climbing, hoping to set a new world record on the Stairmaster at a gym in Orleans. CTV's Josh Morano joins us now with more on this absolutely incredible challenge. Josh.
Yeah, Austin, Hellcat Jafar started on Saturday attempting to break the world record for the most steps taken on a Stairmaster in 24 hours, which is just over 108,000, and he's doing it for a good cause.
Okay, you're at
Step after step, hour after hour, Hellcat Jafar is climbing his way to the top of the record books.
I don't feel anything right now. I'm cramping up.
Inside the Good Life Fitness, where he works in Orleans, Jafar is attempting to break the world record for most steps on a Stairmaster in 24 hours. He needs more than 108,000.
The end was like, all right, it's showtime, and there's no way that I can disappoint this crowd. But the crowd gave me lots of motivation.
Our medical staff was surprised by how well he was doing, and just to see, after a certain point, it becomes a mental battle, and you could just see the determination on his face, and it's something very admirable.
Family, friends, and members of the community cheering him on for hours.
It was just incredible to see it. There's a lot of doubt in the beginning, obviously, but people rallied, the energy went up, and he smashed it.
And then, with the clock winding down, a new world record.
My goal was to go to 112, 114, but I fell a little bit short of 111, but still good enough for a world record.
Along the way, Jafar raising money with proceeds going towards the Boys and Girls Club of Ottawa.
He came to the club as a member and is now giving back to the community, and it just broke a world record. I get a shiver down my back just thinking about how inspiring this young man is and what he's showing our new members, what the opportunities they can be. They can be whatever they want, and this is an example of it.
For Jafar, finishing with 111,000 steps, he says this was more of a mental battle than a physical one, but having his loved ones there to support him was all the help he needed.
They were the ones who were here, throughout the night as well. They didn't sleep as well, right? They were supporting me every step of the way, so I couldn't have done it without them.
I asked Jafar if he had any more records he was looking to break, and he told me he's not looking that far ahead yet, and all he's thinking about is catching up on some sleep tomorrow. Austin.
Yeah, I can only imagine, Josh. I spent 20, 30 minutes on that stair climber, and I feel like I'm absolutely dying. So kudos to him. And thank you for this report, Josh. CTV's Josh Morano reporting live for us tonight. Ottawa's own returns home to the Titans Stadium as an umpire calling the shots for the final Titans regular season game this year. The Ottawa native says he's happy to be back home for this special hometown appearance. And CTV's Camille Wilson has his story.
It's a dream Brendan Boucher didn't think was possible, umpiring a partnered Major League Baseball team on home soil.
It's been a great experience, and I'm very lucky to come from a great baseball community here in Ottawa, and to continue that and to do them proud on the field on the Titans game is really great.
Boucher, one of the umpires in the Frontier League, is a Canada native and began his umpiring journey at home as a high school job before going professional and umpiring across Canada and the U.S.
A new system where Major League Baseball has these one-day tryout camps that you can go to. I think there's usually about 5 a year. And you go, they call you. I got invited to their umpire school, which was all expenses paid.
Calling the game, representing the league and the game of baseball, Boucher says people may get upset, but they are just trying to keep it safe and keep it fair.
The story.
Still, there's nothing like a sense of homegrown pride.
I definitely hear my name yelled from the stands, and I get texts from questions from friends who happen to be at the game. It's really great. You never know who you're going to run into in the stands on a game like today.
Even the Titans fans are proud of his local roots.
I think that's fantastic. Anything local is one of the best things.
I'm just happy he's Canadian.
It's just great to be represented by Ottawa to an Ottawa team.
And of course, Boucher's biggest fan, his mom.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty nice to come and be able to see him locally, and he's been away in the States most of the summer and with this league, so to have him his final game here back home in Ottawa is fun.
Boucher counts himself lucky to make it this far and to have been doing it for the last 3 years.
It's a kid's game to be on the field every day.
Camille Wilson, CTV News.
They don't have money to pay their mortgages. Those that are affected, they don't have money to buy houses.
Still ahead, millions of dollars gone and home buyers left in the lurch. Our real estate scandal as the province threatening to intervene. Here's a live look through our Centennial Glass Skycam. It's currently 25 degrees. Israel says Hamas spokesperson Abu Abeida has been killed following recent attacks on Gaza City. Hamas has not commented on Israel's claims, which state that Abeida was killed in the early stages of a new military offensive in Gaza City. Abeida has been the longtime spokesperson for Hamas's military wing, showing up on camera with a keffiyeh covering his face. His true identity has not been confirmed. All of this happening as the situation in Gaza continues to deteriorate. Local health officials are reporting at least 18 people have been killed as Israel continues its plans to capture Gaza City. Officials say 13 of those killed were trying to get food from a nearby aid site. That's despite warnings from international aid organizations that expanding the war could lead to mass displacement. And Gaza may be thousands of kilometers away, but some here in Canada with ties to the region, it is always on their minds. One man in particular is trying desperately to get his loved ones out, and CTV's Erica Morris has that story.
And this is the family of my uncle.
Not a day goes by that Mahmoud El Khalout isn't worrying about his family in Gaza.
They are living under the unbearable conditions. You cannot imagine their life until you go to Gaza to live their lives.
He's desperate to bring them here. El Khalout settled in Montreal in 2019. He made the heart-wrenching decision to leave his daughter with cerebral palsy, Jana, with his parents and siblings. She died of malnutrition days after her 13th birthday.
Through Global Affairs Canada, she had received a visa permission to leave Gaza with my brother and his wife, the caregivers in Gaza. But the death was faster.
He says he barely had the time to grieve her death because he worries for his 14 family members.
I need all of them to be survived from the genocide. I need all of them to get out of Gaza because the time will not wait.
We spoke with El Khalout's sister-in-law via WhatsApp. She shared stories of what it's like living in a refugee camp with hardly enough food, not being able to find milk for her 7-month-old daughter or get insulin for her father. El Khalout says his brother Ahmed was shot while trying to get food from an American aid distribution point.
So he did not access the food from this trap point, which well known in Gaza as a trapped point.
And he says his brother hasn't gotten proper medical treatment because Gaza's healthcare system has collapsed. He wants Canada to create a visa system similar to the one for Ukrainian refugees.
Good, I have no message, it's good.
Claudia Berube checks her phone every morning to see if her friend, a doctor in Gaza, is active online.
You see the news, you see everything happening, so you know that they are not safe.
She first met Nidal Taman and his wife Shirin through a friend currently in Montreal who was the couple's neighbor in Gaza.
And everybody's doing what they can for their family, but the family that I'm helping, they have no help outside.
She says the kids remind her of her own daughters and she constantly worries for their safety.
So they're really brave, but I'm always afraid. There have been like some near miss, some bombing near the apartment too, so there's nowhere safe. So they might have to move.
That means being displaced into tents, like El Khalout's family, because getting anybody out of Gaza is extremely difficult.
I just wish for them a normal life, just a normal life, so they won't have to be afraid of every bombing, every sound, it's really, really tough on them.
And frustrating for those here who want them to be safe. Erica Morris, CTV News.
Russian President Vladimir Putin joined India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi in China today for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit to discuss how to counter Western influence in global affairs. Putin will spend 4 days in China for talks. The summit will feature leaders from 20 countries to talk about security, counterterrorism, cooperation, and military and economic cooperation. Back here in Ontario, the province is threatening to intervene in a growing fallout from a real estate scandal involving millions of dollars. The chaotic situation, has some home buyers unable to access deposits as realtors question how this wasn't stopped earlier. CTV's John Woodward reports.
Realtor Tuta Gucci's face looks out over East Toronto from her billboard. And today, she's looking for answers.
We all were shocked what happened.
Gucci, one of some 2,400 realtors, surprised they cannot access huge sums of client deposits and commissions. Almost $1 million across her team, all of it in the trust account of iPro Realty. The iPro account now frozen.
They don't have money to pay their mortgages. Those that are affected, they don't have money to buy houses.
Hi, Rui Alves, CEO of iPro Realty.
The co-founders of iPro, Roy Alves and Fideli Colucci, illegally transferred $10.5 million out of the brokerage trust account, according to an investigation by the Real Estate Council of Ontario in May, its largest breach ever.
While the pair were disciplined, they were not charged or fined by Registrar Joe Richer.
Alves was a former RICO board member.
In the meantime, about $720 million of new real estate transactions took place, which all had deposits, which went into this trust account, which was shown to be tampered with.
RICO's registrar no longer at his post.
Now RICO has hired a law firm to conduct an audit. And late Friday, Ontario Minister Stephen Crawford weighed in, saying if he's not satisfied with the audit, he will not hesitate to take further measures, including through the appointment of an administrator to assume control of RICO. Realtor Naz Mohseni says she has $150,000 frozen and says she's been advised to make an insurance claim.
This is not a joke. They have dropped the ball so badly to play with people's financial life.
Gucci says the fund should be managed by a trustee, so realtors and clients can get some money back now.
They should put a trustee right now to pay immediately.
And Gucci says she's left iPro or the new brokerage iCloud behind. She's signed up with RE/MAX. RICO responded in a statement that they welcome the scrutiny and the chance to restore trust in their system. Some realtors say if they don't have access to their funds soon, they will protest the RICO offices. John Woodward, CTV News, Toronto.
We were being given 2 weeks to pack up our house, to sell our house, to liquidate our assets, and to leave Canada.
Coming up, facing deportation after building life in Canada. Why one family is being forced to leave Quebec. That is Deux Frères performing last night at the Gatineau Hot Air Balloon Festival. The sibling duo taking the stage for the second last night of the festival. Tonight, Alessia Cara is taking the stage at 8:30. It was a beautiful night for that concert last night, looking like it's going to be a pretty nice night for a show again tonight. Let's take another look at the weather forecast because really no activity, as you can see there on the satellite radar. Pretty much beautiful sunny conditions. No rain in the forecast for tonight either. Right now, 15 degrees and rainy in St. John's, 20 in Halifax and Charlottetown, 22 in Fredericton. And as I mentioned, we're sitting at 25 degrees, 22 in Quebec City. Pretty nice here in Ontario. It's a little above seasonal. Usually for us, we're sitting around 19 to 21 degrees this time of year. So again, 25, we'll take it. Windsor, 23 degrees. And then out on the prairies, that heat wave continues, albeit the cool down has begun. And that's not saying a lot because it's still at 29 degrees in Regina and in Saskatoon, as well as Winnipeg. But look at Edmonton at 27, Calgary at 28 degrees. They were in the 30s just a couple of days ago as they have their last gasp of summer. 21 degrees right now with cloud coverage in Vancouver. And we're getting down to 11 tonight with some clouds building up over the course of the evening before our daytime high of 26 tomorrow with mostly sunny conditions. 9 is the low in the Ottawa Valley, the same high of 26 by tomorrow afternoon. And then along the Seaway, few clouds tonight in the forecast, but still 10 degrees. So pretty mild for this time of year. Beautiful sunny conditions for tomorrow and that high of 26. And as we take a look at our 7-day weather forecast, you can see that we're staying around the 27-degree mark Tuesday and Wednesday, and then things will start to cool off and taper down with some rain in the forecast coming in Thursday, sticking around probably on and off until Saturday, and then the highs on Saturday and Sunday of next week, just 17 and 18 degrees. A Quebec family is facing the unthinkable. They say after 15 years of building a life here in Canada, they are now being forced to leave the country by next week. They say they're shocked at the decision from Immigration Canada. They're calling it harsh, and CTV's Sweeta Rassi has their story.
For 15-year-old Stella Fig, this could be her last soccer game on Canadian soil.
Well, I mean, I've lived my whole life here, so it's like home.
Stella was born in the United States, but moved to Canada when she was a baby. Her parents moved here for work 15 years ago with Stella and their son. Ever since moving to Canada, the parents welcomed 4 more children. For them, Canada is all they know.
So it's really challenging to know that I might have to restart at zero.
But after coming back from a trip to the U.S. on Monday, Alice Fig says they were stopped by Border Patrol.
We were being given 2 weeks to pack up our house, to sell our house, to liquidate our assets, and to leave Canada.
It turns out their work visa was expired. Federal documents show that the parents, along with their 2 American-born children, must leave the country by September 8th.
That's the shock. That's where the emotion comes out, of just being dismissed after all that we've done to work to be here legitimately.
The family tried a few times to apply for permanent residency, but to no avail. Brent Fig says in the past, after their work visa would expire, they were usually given a 90-day grace period to reapply. But this time around, that wasn't the case.
So we were well within that window.
One immigration lawyer who does not represent the family says there is a chance they could stay in Canada.
What I would explore with them is an application under humanitarian grounds, which, that's a system we have in Canada that will allow an immigration agent officer to consider the file as a whole.
Though the Figs moved around before, since 2017, Quebec has been home. The kids are enrolled in French schools, made friends, and planted roots in the Eastern Townships community. But now all of that is in jeopardy.
Our kids are in shock. Yeah, they know what's happening. The Canadian kids did go back to school this week just to say goodbye to their friends, just to have some last contacts.
CTV News reached out to Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada on Sunday, but did not hear back in time for broadcast. Sweeta Rassi, CTV News.
Going to be a bit of a somber experience when I'm back in Ottawa for another memorial, but now it's going to be my dad's name on the wall.
After the break, firefighters from across the country are cycling to Ottawa to honor their fallen colleagues and loved ones. Firefighters from across the country will be cycling to Ottawa this week. They're heading to the National Firefighters Memorial to honor their fallen colleagues. CTV's Carol Charles has more.
Jordan Ritchie is fine-tuning his bike before he sets off to Ottawa. He is preparing for no ordinary ride. The Pickering firefighter will be joined by 70 other colleagues as they embark on the 9th annual Celtic Fire Memorial Ride in memory of fallen firefighters. For Ritchie, this year's ride has special meaning as he remembers his father. Paul Ritchie died on June 6, 2024, due to occupational cancer.
It was from the official diagnosis to Dad passing away. It was 8 short days. You know, he was a firefighter for over 35 years, had only been retired for 3 years, and only really just got to start getting out and enjoying his retirement.
Like his father, Jordan is proud of his profession and he was fortunate to occasionally serve alongside his dad, who worked at a neighboring fire hall in Ajax.
Dad was a great guy, he was a family man. He loved his job. He loved my mom, my brother, myself, our extended family. He loved to travel, had a love of vehicles, love of cars. And, our biggest regret is the fact that he didn't get to fully enjoy his retirement.
This year, Paul Ritchie will be added to the Remembrance Wall in Ottawa.
It's going to be a bit of a somber experience when I'm back in Ottawa for another memorial, but now it's going to be my dad's name on the wall.
This year, 140 names will be added to the wall, with 112 families in attendance. Jordan has been preparing for this ride for over a year.
On average, I'm riding 3 to 4 days a week, somewhere between 60 and 100 kilometers each ride.
The group will be cycling for 3 days. In total, a strenuous 575-kilometer ride. They push off in Hamilton and pedal all the way to Ottawa's National Firefighters Memorial.
The one thing I am looking forward to is riding with 70-plus other riders from 18 different departments across the country and having that camaraderie.
To date, 2,200 names are on the wall, and ride organizer David Cossett says it's important to recognize their sacrifice.
It's really important just because we need to recognize those people that have been lost in the line of duty, the sacrifices that not only that they have made, but also that their families have made by losing a loved one.
The Celtic Fire Memorial Ride has already raised $70,000. The goal is to hit $100,000 this year. The money will support the upkeep of the memorial site, families, as well as children who have lost loved ones in the line of duty. The Memorial Weekend will take place September 5th through the 7th. Carol Charles, CTV News.
Let's go!
Coming up, breaking the world record for the biggest hike. We check in on outdoor enthusiasts in West Vancouver.
Get the latest live local breaking news. Sign up now for our morning and evening CTV News Ottawa newsletter. The best local content from CTV News, CTV Morning Live, and News Talk 580 CFRA. Get it all in one place. Sign up now at ctvnewsottawa.ca. The CTV News Ottawa newsletter is brought to you in part by CAA Business.
Welcome back. Details tonight on a CTV News investigation into why an innocent Ontario man got pulled over dozens of times over almost 2 years. He says police are on the lookout for stolen cars continually, and they're targeting him. CTV's John Woodward explains.
Steve Fowler likes to stay on the right side of the law, but one day the police started to take an interest in him.
I started in December of 23. I got pulled over on my way into work by York Region Police. They said, there's a problem with my license plate.
Fowler showed them his documentation. It looked clean. And then he got pulled over again and again from York Region to South Simcoe.
20, 30 times.
20 to 30 times.
It's almost once every other week.
He got to know them very well.
When the officer came up to the window, he recognized me. He said, oh, hey, how's it going?
After some digging, it emerged his plates were automatically flagged. That's because police in London, Ontario found a VIN number that's supposed to be unique to his Ram truck on a stolen car.
The permit was replaced using a third-party authorization.
After months of calls, government workers told him someone at this Pickering Service Ontario transferred the ownership of his truck from him to someone else.
Someone pretended me never had to show up. It was all done through computers and emails.
After CTV News started asking questions, South Simcoe police inspected his vehicle. That proved his truck wasn't stolen. Only then did Ontario's Ministry of Transportation remove the flag from his truck. South Simcoe police told us in a statement, this is an unusual matter that requires the assistance of the individual, Ministry of Transportation, and the Insurance Bureau of Canada. But as VIN fraud is on the rise, agencies have to prepare how to handle it when criminals use the VIN number of someone innocent, says Dan Service of VIN Verification Incorporated.
I think that VIN fraud has proliferated so much in the past few years that it's overwhelmed many of the organizations' capacity to address it.
Some Service Ontario workers have been convicted, like Tanisha Baird in Brampton earlier this year. Service said an investigation might determine whether someone is at fault or whether they were just duped. The ministry responsible for Service Ontario would only say Service Ontario is in regular communication with all of its service providers who are required to comply with the government's policies and procedures. Fowler is back on the road, but he does worry if this isn't dealt with, what happened to him will just happen to someone else. John Woodward, CTV News.
In tonight's Big Picture, outdoor enthusiasts came out to break a record for the world's biggest hike in West Vancouver this weekend. The exact turnout is still being verified by the Guinness World Records, but it is estimated some 1,500 to 2,500 people came out, and it wasn't just a good exercise, it was also goodwill, raising money for multiple charities. Turning now to some of the other stories that you need to know, and for this, we bring in CTV's Natalie Van Roy. Natalie.
Well, thanks, Austin. A celebration of Serbian culture is underway tonight and tomorrow on Prince of Wales Drive.
We're on the river. It's really beautiful, especially for today and tomorrow. Weather forecast is amazing. And in the evening, we have invited dancers from other communities, from Mexico, from Poland, from other countries to come and perform, including our own. And then we have a live band. So basically, after that is just a party.
Now in its 18th year, Ottawa Serbian Festival has returned. Music, dance, delicious food, and more continues tonight until 11 o'clock. The event then returns for a final day tomorrow from noon to 10 o'clock. It's also free to attend, and parking is also free.
Tabla, oh my word, Tabla, Rodriguez, equalizes history.
It was an energetic evening at TD Place last night as Atletico Ottawa took on Vancouver FC. Ottawa is currently second place in the Canadian Premier League standings and narrowed the gap last night after defeating Vancouver FC 3-1. The next game for Atletico is against Pacific FC on September 6th.
Or grounded up the middle for a base hit, and this will score two.
The Blue Jays were looking to avoid being swept as they wrapped up their series with the Milwaukee Brewers this afternoon. The Jays took a 4-run lead in the fifth inning, and they didn't look back, winning this one 8-4. The Jays will now head to Cincinnati to begin a series with the Reds tomorrow afternoon.
It's an exciting time for the Jays. I know that a lot of people across the country are pumped.
They're pumped, and you know, it's just so much fun, like being at a game. If you get to Toronto, I went there in July, and I had a ton of fun just going to a game, enjoying the ambiance, and it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful day.
It's beautiful to see him doing well. After the break, dogs take the plunge. We'll tell you why in just a moment. Here's a live look through our Centennial Glass Skycam. It's currently 25 degrees.
Tonight, a family's desperate plea.
Please save my brother. Save him. Save his family from being without dad.
The help they're calling for to get family out of war-torn Gaza. Later on CTV National News.
Hairstyles, courtesy of Salon Fiorella.
Here's a recap of the top local stories we're following right now.
It's a panic. It's definitely a panic.
Thousands of kids across the city are getting ready to head back to class on Tuesday, and now their parents have to get shopping.
Without these buildings in our community, we would be losing a vast amount of heritage.
The push to preserve history in Manotick, how Watson's Mill is hoping to save two buildings in negotiations with the city. And mastering the stairs, this Ottawa man breaks a world record, going over 100,000 steps, all to support the Boys and Girls Club of Ottawa. Now time for your final look at the weather forecast. Waking up to about 11 degrees, so pretty nice temperatures. Just a light jacket, that's all you need. Mostly sunny conditions, and then we're getting up to a daytime high of 26, a little warmer on Tuesday and Wednesday, 27 as the highs before things start to taper off, and rain starts to hit us on Thursday. Well, finally for us tonight, it was a day for the dogs out in the big smoke.
Several city pools in Toronto closed for the season today, but not before they went to the dogs.
Yeah, this was between 4:30 and 6:30. Yeah, what a blast, eh? Like, they don't get to swim in the pool very often, but they were today. They were able to take dips at 10 city pools, and this was the scene at Monarch Park Pool for anyone who has spent some time out in Ottawa. The dog swims are free, but people were encouraged to bring donations for Toronto's animal services. Popular items included peanut butter, of course, freeze-dried treats, and dog toys. And they did this back when I was in Lethbridge. They sent me to that one. That was one of my favorite assignments
That
ever.
would be so much fun. I don't know if you caught that one dog that was running like crazy off to the side. That would be Frankie.
Yeah, Frankie, your dog. I was going to
Yeah,
say.
that would be totally Frankie.
I feel like she would absolutely love it. What dog wouldn't love that?
They would love it.
Yeah, of course, especially in summer. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Have a great night.